Now we proceed with lesson 2 of the IT BPM contract. So now we're going to discuss what's in the IT BPM contract. So like any contract, it has, of course, the parties engaged in the contract. So what is an IT BPM contract? An IT BPM contract is an agreement between a client company and a third-party service provider to take over a non-core pre-agreed portion of the client's business operation. So typically, of course, actually guys, it's not only the IT BPM contract encompasses the following, but most contract encompasses the if not all, the following. Of course, the defining statement, what are the things included in the scope of work, or what are the boundaries of the work the third party should engage into. Performance measures. So what are these? If how are they going to define what is of best quality, what is or how quality is being measured according to the contract or according to the both parties. And of course, what is being defined as good, better, or best according to the client company that the third party should address or provide. And then boilerplate, what that addresses breaches, non-performance, and recourse. So in case there are things that may happen within the course of the contract, as I have discussed in the previous part, they have to sign a non-disclosure document. So make sure that when they sign the non-disclosure document, they adhere to it so that breaches will not happen. And of course, what are the things that should be done in case of breaches or non-performance, or what are the recourse if there are things that, or there are activities that has not been done by the third party service provider, or what are the things that was agreed but not performed by the client companies. What are the recourse? What are the necessary action should be stipulated in the contract. So what is the defining statement? So we discuss it one by one. So the contracts first define terms and make basic contractual statement. They have to have definition of terms because these are actually technical definition of terms that encompasses the contract. So what are the technical terms they have agreed that should be what is being defined in the contract? Okay, the statement section names the parties. So the client and the service provider, defines the length of the contract. So when start, when ends, or if there are any extension, if ever. The fees involved or points of fee schedule. So when is the client going to pay, or how much are they going to pay, and enumerates the goals and principles that govern the relationship as the parties work together to manage the project. So actually, both the service provider and the client should agree on what is being stipulated on the contract. It should not be one-sided only. Iteration of goals and principles sets as a basis for equitably modifying the contract if circumstances require without having to stop work and renegotiate. So actually, they have to agree on this also. So in case there are things that needs to be done, they have to go back also to the contract so that work can be continued and not be hampered. They can renegotiate as long as they have their attorneys on both sides. The scope of work. So the PPO contract is a performance-based contract. So it should be stated in the contract what are the necessary performance they have to really, the service provider should perform. And then the next section of the document defines the scope of work that state exactly what the service provider is responsible for handling. So if the service provider is only onto making a certain part of a machine or a gadget, then that is only the role, no more extracurricular, because that is what is they have agreed in the contract. It defines the deliverables or what qualifies as complete service delivery under the contract that will entitle the provider to payment. So what are it's like when you enroll actually in this subject, you somehow agreed that you have to submit things and stuffs. So once I gave you your schedules, I gave you the assignments, I gave you the quizzes, and the other necessary things that you need to provide me, those are your deliverables. So what encompasses or what qualify as a complete service or the complete delivery of your deliverables for this subject? This is just to give you a clear view. So if let's just say, as stipulated in our schedules, you have to do all those activities I have stipulated, right? You have to do that. If you have questions, you can ask. And then if we already agreed that those are our schedules, this and that. So at the end of the semester, if let's just say you miss some of the deliverables required from you, not only miss, but some of your deliverables are not perfect or mediocre or below mediocre, if I am going to pay you in terms of grade, what type of grade or what grade do you think you deserve? So if that is the basis of a complete service delivery, typically you did not provide the right or the complete service because you missed something. Your output is mediocre, it's not satisfying, or your output is less mediocre, then do not expect a payment that is equal to a perfect delivery or a complete service delivery. So it's just like, if you keep on missing things and being late in your submission, don't expect a grade of 1.0, right? So you might probably expect from yourself, oh, I'll probably just pass the subject. The same with the contract, the same with an It Bpm contract. In their scope of work, they have to deliver this. Because if, let's just say, they have to deliver this. If they cannot deliver this as part of a complete service delivery, or not probably service, a part of a manufacturing of something, a gadget probably, or a machine probably, if they cannot deliver this, there's what you call back job. They have to redo it. But for our case, in a subject, you want, if you want to redo the semester, no problem. Something like that. You have to understand the scope of work or what is really being stipulated in the contract to be able to respond accordingly, so that you can also be paid accordingly and you can provide the service accordingly. So that is the scope of work. So performance measure. A typical BPO contract sets performance measure. Tasks are benchmarked according to a time frame. Let's just say you have to complete assembling a calculator in let's just say an hour, and you have to make 20,000 calculators per day, because you have to deliver that at the end of the month. The amount of calculator need to be, those are the time frame, those are the sets of performance measure. Or let's just say, if that is in manufacturing, how about in service? Let's just say a call center agent should be able to, there's what you call minimum and then maximum. be able to cater a customer complaints, let's just say in 5 minutes, they need to satisfy the customer or resolve the customer complaints. That is, they have given a time frame of 5 minutes. So if they have resolved the customer's problem in 3 minutes or less than 5 minutes, and they have accommodated a lot of customer during his or her shift, then probably they have a performance measure for that, for being like they're given incentives and the likes. So there are, like I said, there are minimum levels of service quality are established as measure for performance satisfaction across tasks. Let's just say, like I said, you have to resolve a certain problem in 5 minutes. So that is the minimum level. That is the minimum level of service quality. And probably they have 10 minutes in case the problem should escalate further because the customer is not satisfied. But as much as possible, the minimum level is what they regard as quality service. But if you go beyond the minimum level, like 5 minutes, as I say, you cater the customers for 2 minutes, then that's not just minimum, it's beyond, and then customers are satisfied. So that's performance measure. So boilerplate that address breaches, non-performance, and recourse. So the final section of the IT BPM contract will contain all of the boilerplate and legalese needed for the contract to be effective in applicable jurisdiction. Chief among these clauses are guarantees of the non-disclosure that a employee signed in the first part of this discussion, confidentiality, non-competition. So the third-party service provider should not, of course, compete with the client. Ownership of work product. They should not own the product. If I am just a service provider and I am providing service for, let's just say, Nike, I cannot own the brand of Nike. I'm just providing Nike a service, but I cannot own their product. This section also establishes occurrences that constitute a breach of the contract and set procedures for legal recourse. Like I said a while ago, if either party breaches the contract, it will be stipulated in the contract that it's either they go to litigation, they go to litigation, or probably they have to pay if it's the service provider who breaches the contract, they have to pay the client, or if the client who breaches the contract, they have to pay the service provider. It depends upon on what they have agreed, or what is being defined as breach of a contract. So that's why both parties have to really understand what is being stipulated in the contract, and they have to have legal advices, both parties, so that everything is clear in the open. So the MSA, or the Master Service Agreement, this is still part of the contract. A contractual document that specifies performance objectives. So this is actually everything in the contract. A contractual document outlines the responsibilities of both parties. Is like an appendix. Like the contract is the introduction, and then this one is more on the details of what is in the contract. List the current and prospective services to which agreement applies. State performance objective as service level agreements, written service performance target that the service provider and customer agree on. So helps companies manage customer expectation, clarify the roles and responsibilities of both parties, improve service delivery, and build rapport. So they can, because of this contract, they can if they have agreed to this MSA, then they can build a relationship or a rapport. So they have to really, so these are the, if it isn't the himay, these are the details of contract, the master service agreement. So the purpose of the MSA is to facilitate and simplify contract negotiation. MSAs help company and its customers work through most of the broad but significant concerns that could derail a contract up front. So MSA makes company focus more on specific contractual concerns such as price, time frame, when an actual contract arises. So technically, like I said, these are just the details, the juice of the IT BPM contract. So MSA helps companies avoid time pressure and have time to carefully identify and address any potential issues. Advantages of an MSA: it helps company avoid potential issues that arise from poorly constructed contract. A poorly constructed contract is where it's like actually every time we purchase something, whether in a sari-sari store or in a department store or in a mall, we're actually engaging into a contract, guys. That is a contract of sale. Sometimes when we purchase something or avail of service of something, dili ta kabalong basa. Our point is just to get what we want, get what we need. And then if something happens of the product that we purchase or the services we're not satisfied, we complain and then we rant on social media about their product, their service. And then in the first place, we did not practice as a consumer our right also that we have to read, we have to understand what are the necessary agreements and policies every time we purchase something. A very good example of this is when we download applications. Every time we download application, there is just agreement, like a contract. What did we do? What did you do? What did you do? You just agree, next. Have you the first time you had your cell phones probably, or the next time you buy another cell phone and download an app the same with that of your previous phone, have you read the contract that's being stipulated by Facebook, by Twitter, by IG, by Messenger, by TikTok? Have you read the agreement on it? You did not. And then you might ask, ikaw day ma'am, nibasa day ka? Yes. I read because I want to understand what is being stipulated in that. Because if you have actually read it and then you rant on Facebook like, mind your own business, I'm a private person. What the moment that you put yourself online, you're not private anymore. You cannot say to other people to mind their own business because you yourself let other people mind you. You let all those marites, Mirasol, and whoever they are mind you because you did not read the contract or the agreement stipulated the moment you signed in or uploaded it up. So technically, it's not the application's fault. It is yours, probably mine if I have not read before. It's not a poorly constructed contract. It's just that if you are entering a contract and having business to this application, you did not understand the contract fully well. So if this happens in a business wherein both parties, only the other party understand it, the other party contracting or agreed in a certain contract did not understand it, one way or the other, along the way of providing the service or receiving the service, something bad will really happen because you did not understand what encompasses the contract. So probably next time you have new application that you have to download, or if you have new phone or gadget for that matter, try reading what is being stipulated in the agreement. And you might say, ma'am, taas kaayo. So it just signifies that you really are lazy. And then in the future, you're going to be reading something like this. When you signed your first job, when you signed your being employed, please read the contract. How much is your salary? What is being due to you? What are the necessary things that you do? what is your scope of work, what encompasses your job, what are the things that you're not supposed to do. Why? What if you just signed the contract of your first job, and then all you have to know is that you're already hired, you're going to be an assistant or something? What if it's part of the contract that you have to pole dance, and you said, I didn't sign up for this, and they have papers to give you sign up for this. So please, to avoid any contractual dispute and reduce the risk of litigation, read contracts, especially if you are the one engaged into it, or if your loved ones probably, or you're going to be part of that institution, of a business and something. Read the contract and understand the contract. Actually, if you tell the other party na, can I have 2 nights of this so that I can fully understand this contract, and then I'm gonna ask for legal advice, it's okay. They're not there to rush you. They're there for you to understand what you are entering into. Okay? So, timeline of a contract, of course, I believe you understand what this means. The timeline of a contract spells out the start date or go live and the duration. Go live means you start the contract, you're done with the training and the likes. Because before you start a contract, before a client give to the service provider part of a non-core activity or process, they have to train also the service provider, because how can they deliver the right service the client wants if they do not train the service provider on what they really wanted as an output from them. So the start date, the contract should be dated so that the parties can refer to it easily. The date of the signing of the contract should be also indicated. Unless the contract says when it will start, the contract is effective on the date of the last signature. It's a good idea to date the contract and then define that date as a start date. So that's just the start date. And then the duration refers to the number of working days or calendar days from a specified commencement date to a specified completion date as provided for in a contract. It is also called a contract time, so the time frame or the duration. So another specific essential requirement of a contract. So a contract has 4 major parts: the master's agreement, the operating principle, the statement of work or the SO, and the service level agreement. So remember that. And then the SLA. So what the essential elements of an SLA is: the start and end of the dates of the service, schedule for reviewing performance, data to be used in measuring the service level, among other these things. So I think I already discussed most of it in the previous slides. And of course, the master contract, of course, the essential element of a master contract is all this legal arrangement, codifies operating rules, provides legal protection, fees, services, terms, obligations, the trademarks, ensuring the security and date and privacy of the data, applicable law, termination of relationship, indemnifications and warranty, among others. These are the master contract. Next is operating principles, the essential element of the operating principles. This is more on the ground, how parties will work together in terms of logistics, hands-off, reporting protocols, governance procedures, support process, conflict resolution, or if any other support from the client in case of disasters, exit strategy, among others. So that is the operating principles. It's just the basics. And then the statement of work, or sometimes scope of work. So the scope and nature of the engagement, roles and responsibility of the client, roles and responsibility of the service provider or the vendor, metrics for evaluating performance. How are they going to measure the performance of the vendor? So these are the metrics. Resources in case things do not go as expected. So let's just say the plan B or the other things that you need to do if in case it doesn't go as expected, or there are fortuitous events, there are natural disasters or calamities that may hinder a service provider of doing what they need to do. And then that's end of part 2. So these are the references. That's all. Thank you.